Hello, hi guys. This is CA Balakrishna from Lecturepedia. How are you? Hope you people are doing well. Even I am fantastic. Now, in the today's video, without any waste of time, we'll revise this RTP of September 2025 CA final examination with respect to audit. So I'll try to explain this entire RTP within just 30 to 40 minutes. Okay, so first of all, we'll see the case study based MCQs. So there is Messrs. B&M and Associate Chartered Accountants are in the completion phase of a statutory audit of a Messrs. FES Limited, okay, a technology company for the financial year ended 31st March 2025. Fine. Before concluding the audit, there was a difference of opinion between the audit committee and auditors as to which among the following are areas which the auditor should take into account to determine key audit matters. So key audit matters you will select from those matters that are communicated to those charged with governance, that matters that are significant during the current period audit, that you will select as key audit matter, right? So for such selection you have to actually consider certain three aspects: in which area significant judgment of auditor was required, and which area is of a higher risk of material misstatement, and any significant area has occurred or any significant event or transaction has occurred during the year. These three things you will consider. So now they're asking from these three things which two or which aspects has to be considered or to be given as a key audit matter. So firstly, during the last quarter of the year, company's income was significantly affected by fluctuations in the foreign exchange rates, which with inadequate hedging arrangements, the auditors had to evaluate the impact of these transactions on the financial statements. Yes, this can be considered as a key audit matter because this is a significant event that has occurred during the year. Next, it was observed that server maintenance work of company was likely prone to external access, which was an area of high risk as assessed and reported by management experts of committee. See, this is not assessed as high risk by auditor. Management's expert committee has assessed it as a high risk. So this need not be given as a key audit matter because auditor has not assessed it as a high risk of material misstatement. Next, the auditor had to make important judgments in area where management of the company also used significant judgment. One key point was that company depended heavily on few major clients while management believed that market of company was growing. Yes, in this area management has used significant judgment, so auditor has also used significant judgment. Point number 1 and point number 3 can be given as key audit matters, right? Next, following discussions, a mutual understanding was reached and audit of FES Limited was conducted smoothly. Subsequently, B&M Associates came to know about the tender floated by the Dwaraka, just a second, tender floated by Dwaraka Municipal Corporation for computerization of its records. See, this is not a audit tender for purpose other than audit. The chartered accountants, they can participate in these types of tenders and they can also deposit some amount, earnest money. Nothing is wrong. Requiring an earnest deposit of 85,000. B&M and Associates has one of its partners residing in Dwaraka. Hence, he persuaded the firm to apply for the tender and paid the earnest deposit. However, another partner of the firm was of the view that such an act would lead to professional misconduct. No, this will not lead to professional misconduct, but because the tender is not related to area which is specifically fixed to the auditor, right? In this item of computerization of books, this service can be provided by any professional. This is not specifically fixed to chartered accountants like audit, and insisted on withdrawing the tender application. You need not withdraw here. The firm decided to approach an experienced CA before withdrawing the tender application and went on focusing on other assignments. Okay. B&M and Associates, excuse me, B&M and Associates also commenced the statutory audit of Cash Limited, a banking company headquartered in India. During the audit, the following observations were made. So first one, staff and officers of bank were frequently transferred from one position to another without prior notice. Yes, this is a proper control that should be there. Cash was test checked daily and counted in full occasion by another officer of the bank. Apart from cashier, yes, this control also should be there in the bank. Next, physical custody of cash was solely maintained by the senior most officer, or no, the physical custody of the cash, it should be there with at least two employees. But here in this situation, the physical custody is kept with only one employee, which is completely wrong. So the second, in the second situation, control is not established properly. Sorry, not second, third situation, control is not established properly. Next, unpaid checks received through outward clearing were securely stored in the bank's locker. No, you should not store the unpaid checks, that has to be returned to the customer. So 3 and 4, these two controls are not executed properly. Next, after a detailed discussion and review of internal controls and practices, the firm finalized and issued audit report for the financial year. CAM partner at BNM Associates firmly believed that one should always pursue their passion regardless of their profession or business. Driven by this belief, he engaged in following activities. First one, part-time employment with a non-profit organization based in Noida. This requires a specific permission from institute. Involved in agricultural activities on his professionally owned agricultural land. For this, general permission has been given by the institute. General specific. Next, tutorship as a part-time faculty member at a private educational institute at Chennai. This also requires a specific permission. Holding honorary office of leadership in charitable educational organization in Trivandrum. The institute has given general permission. So point number 2 and 4 has a general permission. Right now, let us answer the questions. So as per SA 701, communicating key audit matter in independent auditors report, which of the above mentioned areas should the audit committee and the auditors consider while determining key audit matter? We have seen point number 1 and point number 3 should be considered. So option number A. Next, assuming the role of auditor of cash limited, based on above observations, which aspects you would report as control failure? Point 3 and 4 were control failures, if you remember. So yes, point 3 and 4, those three were control failures, where cash should be in custody of at least two officers and checks should be given to the customers, the unpaid checks. Next, among various passion-driven activities undertaken by CAM, as discussed in the case, which of these are generally permitted by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India? That agriculture one is generally permitted, and honorary members. So 2 and 4 are generally permitted. Option C. Next, according to the provisions of Chartered Accountants Act 1949, under which clause would CAM be guilty of professional misconduct? So, if he holds any occupation other than the profession of a chartered accountancy, then he will be guilty of professional misconduct under clause 11, part 1, schedule 1. So, clause 1, part 1, schedule, sorry, clause 11, part 1, schedule 1. With respect to that four aspects only, without taking general permission from the institute, with specific permission from the institute, he has the involved in educational activities, right? So that requires a specific permission. Next, is there any professional misconduct involved in submission of a municipality tender application by BNM Associates? No. As per guidelines under Act, member can respond to any tender where matter relates to anything other than audit. So option B, fifth one, option B. Next, individual MCQs. During the audit of Tripti Chemicals Limited, the auditors, Dishu and company, identified unusual fluctuations in revenue while performing analytical procedures. Upon further inquiry, they detected misstatements in revenue recognition, which appear to have been intentionally made by senior finance personnel, although management contended it was one-time error. So, intentionally they found that some error was committed, but management is saying this is just one-time error. Now, the auditor suspect of potential fraud in accordance with standards on auditing. What would be the most appropriate course of action for the auditor? Here, auditor, he needs to evaluate whether the misstatement indicates a fraud, and he needs to assess the ROMM that he has determined earlier. Next, VMC and Co, a firm of chartered accountants, has been auditing the financial statements of Reox Limited, a listed company, for the past 10 years. CA Rajat, an engagement partner, has led the audit team throughout this period. A recent quality control review raised concerns regarding the familiarity threat, as CA Rajat has developed a close relationship with key management personnel of the client. Which of the following would be most appropriate course of action for VMC to mitigate the familiarity threat? So, in order to mitigate the familiarity threat, you can rotate the audit between different engagement partners. So next year you can appoint a different engagement partner for that audit from your same firm. So here option C, rotate engagement partner and appoint another qualified partner to lead the audit engagement. This will reduce the familiarity threat. Next, while conducting the statutory audit of large manufacturing company with multiple warehouses in remote locations, audit team faced challenges in performing physical stock counts due to logistical constraints. The team decided to adopt an emerging technology that uses sensors and high resolution cameras to carry out inventory verification without being physically present at site. So without physically present at site, they wanted to verify the inventory. Which technology they can use? Of course they can use drone technology, right? Option number B. Next, moving to descriptive questions. So SDC and Associates, a medium-sized audit firm, is appointed as an auditor of Neuronix Limited, a listed pharmaceutical company engaged in extensive research and development with complex global operations. CA Rashi, an engagement partner of SDC and Associates, is leading the audit team for the audit of the same. Neuronix Limited was earlier audited by Big Four firm that withdraw from the engagement, citing scope limitations. Now the new auditor should consider the reasons why the earlier auditor has withdrawn. This is one of the point that you need to consider in this question. Next, during the audit planning, CA Rashi realizes that while her team is skilled in standard manufacturing audits, they lack experience in pharma research and development and associate regulatory framework. So whenever you are accepting any work, you need to ensure that your engagement team will be able to discharge that work. Only after checking that you need to accept the work, correct or not? So the firm is under pressure to complete the audit in time to meet the listing obligations of Neuronix. The managing partner insists on continuing the audit and advises CA Rashid to rely on the firm's standard procedure to ensure timely delivery. So the audit staff, they were well aware of procedures that has to be performed in case of manufacturing sector, but for this specific industry they don't know how to perform the procedures. So in such a situation, it is not suggestible to accept the engagement, right? So here you need to let's see, in light of SQC1 and SA220, analyze the quality control considerations. Here RSI must evaluate before continuing with the engagement what actions should she take to uphold audit quality. So generally, while accepting the engagement, client acceptance and continuance procedures, you will perform those procedures. You need to perform here, like verifying integrity of the client and checking whether your engagement team will be able to discharge the work that has been that you are accepting. So for that you need to further check whether your engagement team is having proper personal, any expertise required, their knowledge is sufficient, right? And finally you should also see whether you will be able to comply with the ethical requirements if you accept this work. So here in this question it is asking about client acceptance and continuance procedures, right? Next, CA Kavya has been appointed as statutory auditor of XYR. It's basically all these uh, case study is irrelevant for answering. We will just read this. While planning the audit, CA Kavya needs to determine materiality for the financial statements as a whole. She seeks guidance on factors that may affect the identification of appropriate benchmark. So, for selection of benchmark, there are certain five factors, like you need to consider whether the elements of financial statements, whether users tends to focus on any item of financial statements, relative volatility of benchmark, and what is the structure, ownership structure in the organization, and how the organization is financed. All these aspects you need to consider with respect to selection of benchmark, correct or not? Next, Hershey Electronics Limited, a manufacturing company, planned to set up a new research and development center at its existing industrial premises in Pune to mark its 25th anniversary in the financial year 24-25. To expand the premises, the company decided to acquire adjacent plant of land owned by Miss Reena, executive director of the company. So, company wanted to acquire land from Miss Reena. Miss Reena is the executive director. Now, this becomes a related party transactions, right? Yes. Now, the company offered to exchange one of its underutilized land parcels located in another industrial area rather than having a cash. So, this also becomes a non-cash transactions, correct or not? So, non-cash transactions you need to report as per clause number 15 in Coro, and related party transactions you need to report as per clause number 13. You need to check whether compliance of section 188 187 is made, and with respect to non-cash transaction whether compliance of section 192 is made. Excuse me. So those are the reporting requirements here under Coro. Next question number 12. Kubertech Solutions Limited is in the process of finalizing its financial statements for the year ended 31st March 2025. The company is required to present comparative financial statements, including figures for the year ended 31st March 2024. Roshan and Co Chartered Accountants has been appointed as statutory auditor for the current year. Now, during the year, see, for financial year 23-24, Gupta and Mehra were the auditors, and for 24-25, Roshan and Co. Different auditors are there. Now, audit opinion given by Gupta is adverse, whereas audit opinion given by our auditor is still audit is in progress. And reason for modified opinion: material misstatement in valuation and disclosure of trade receivable, and this is not corrected in the current year also. So if there is a misstatement in the previous year because of which adverse opinion has been given and it has not been corrected during the year, then you will modify the current year financial statements with reference to the previous year by referring to both the current period or the corresponding figures, right? That is the thing that you will do. You will modify the current year figures with respect to previous year figures. And presentation of financial statements, figures presented as comparative financial statements are given. Okay. Now, what are the duties of CA Roshan while reporting on current year's financial statements? You need to modify the current year financial statements with reference to the previous year or the corresponding figures. And next, what modifications or disclosures are required in current year's auditor's report in accordance with the relevant standard on auditing? So, you need to report in a other matter paragraph that previous year financial statements are audited by some other auditor, and that auditor has given adverse report, and what is the date of such auditor's report. Those things you need to give. Next, actually now the time is almost 10:30, that's why. Yes. Next, review of financial information. Amar Projects Private Limited, a company involved in trunky infrastructure projects, is in discussions for a strategic joint venture with a foreign company. As part of the due diligence process, the foreign entity has requested a review of Amar Projects interim financials for the 6 months period ending 30 September 2024 instead of full audit. Okay, they are asking for just a review. Now, the questions they are asking is, what kind of assurance is given in case of review engagement? You will give limited assurance, right? How it is different from the audit? In case of audit you will give reasonable assurance, whereas in case of review you will just give limited assurance. And in case of audit you will you will perform complete audit procedure, whereas in case of review you will just perform limited audit procedures, correct or not? Yes. Next, what are the key elements that must be included in the written review report? There will be title, address, the conclusion, right? And responsibilities of practitioner, responsibilities of management. These basic elements will be there. Also explain whether UDIN is also required for a review engagement. Yes, UDIN is also required for the review report, because that is also a report, right? Next, Sujal is appointed as auditor of Kashish Limited, a company heavily dependent on digital platforms for its core business operations and financial reporting. During the preliminary discussion with management, Sujal observes the following gaps in the company's IT risk management: no recent risk assessment in IT environment, no documented strategy for managing, company has not classified its information assets. So basically, with respect to information technology, all the loopholes are being found. Now, as an auditor, what should Sujal's first step be in response to above mentioned observation? So, first step is you need to ask the management to do risk assessment, and such risk assessment should involve the risk that is arising because of use of information technology also. That should be the first step that has to be performed by the auditor in this situation. And along with that, see, still some more aspects that he needs to check, or where is it? uh, yeah, this one is this question. There are still some more factors, like you need to assign a chief information officer or CISO in the organization, and you need to ensure that all the assets are properly secured. With respect to that, you need to have internal controls. Just I am going to that answer so that more specifically you can see them. See, the auditor has to determine whether entity's risk assessment process considers a cyber security risk. Entity should conduct periodic risk assessment and develop a management strategy which identifies cyber security risks. And also, entity should maintain periodically review inventory of their information assets. Entity should also classify and prioritize protection of their information assets. And from governance perspective, management should review how cyber security risk affects the internal controls over financial reporting. Management needs to identify if any established risk-based cyber security program can be leveraged, and you should also determine overall responsibility for cyber security in the organization. Like any persona, like CISO or Chief Informational Officer, has been appointed in the organization. Next, question number 15, right? So, question number 15. CA Rajul has been appointed as statutory auditor of the consolidated financial statements of NEMI Limited for the financial year 24-25. Consolidated financial statements includes financial statements and financial information of 9 subsidiaries, all of which have been audited by other auditors. Okay, in the consolidated financial statements, some subsidiary financial information is included, which is audited by some other auditors. The following summary information pertains to these subsidiaries. So total assets is 2,200 crore, total revenue is 1,400 crore, total net cash outflow is 25 crore. This is specifically related to subsidiaries. Now, out of 9 subsidiaries, 3 are located outside India. Their financial statements have been prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles of their respective countries and audited in accordance with auditing standards applicable in their jurisdiction. Now, how should CA Rajul report this matter in the auditor's report? Here, you need to use a other matter paragraph and clearly communicate that out of the total assets, this many assets are not audited by me, audited by some other branch auditor. Like this, you need to frame the other matter paragraph. Next, special features of audit of banks and non-banking financial companies. Okay, you are auditing branch operations of XS Limited Bank, a scheduled commercial bank, for the year ended 31st March 2025. During the audit of loans and advances portfolio, you observe the following. So basically, here there are certain loopholes with respect to loans and advances, and they are asking what are the controls that you will establish with respect to loans and advances. So while granting any loan or advance, you will check the credit worthiness, and you will also see that asset is properly secured, and you will also keep a particular margin with respect to asset that you have accepted as a security, correct or not. And some more controls that you will ensure with respect to loans and advances. Let's see, just a second. So creditworthiness creditworthiness and all necessary documents should be properly executed. Sufficient margin should be kept with respect to the securities. All securities should be received and returned by the responsible officer. All securities requiring registration should be registered in the name of bank, and all accounts should be kept within both drawing power and also sanction limit. However, a additional limit of up to 20% of the existing limit can be given for a maximum of 90 days. This is important, and all the accounts which exceed sanction limit should be properly brought to the notice of management or head office, and the operation of each account should be reviewed at least once in every year, right? So these are some of the controls that you will ensure with respect to loans and advances given by the bank. Next, question number 17. So basically, question number 17, it is asking about applicability of internal audit. So generally, internal audit is applicable for all listed entities, and in case of unlisted public companies, if paid up share capital is more than 50 crores, and turnover is more than 200 crores, borrowing is more than 100 crores, deposits is more than 25 crores, and in case of private limited company, borrowing more than 10 crores, 100 crores, and turnover more than 200 crores, internal audit gets applicable. Now, if you see whether Gina Technologies Private Limited required to appoint internal auditor. So, if you see Gina Technologies, it is basically a private limited company engaged in manufacturing. Turnover is 210 crores, exceeding 200 crores. So, it is required to appoint internal auditor. Next, cross Buildcon, basically it is a public company, and in case of public company, paid up share capital is less than 50 crores only, turnover also less than 200 crores, but borrowings is exceeding 100 crores, outstanding deposits also exceeding 25 crores. So since these two are satisfied, you need to appoint internal auditors. State who can be appointed as internal auditor. See, either a chartered accountant or a cost accountant or any other professional who the board of directors feels that can discharge the work of internal auditor can be appointed as a internal auditor. And internal auditor, he can be either employee of the company or some outsider person also. Right? There is no restriction with respect to that. Next, Navyam Limited is into business of construction of construction for past 20 years. Management of company came to know that building materials sent to construction sites is of substandard quality, whereas payment released by accounts department of the company is on the higher side. So you are sending or you are buying low quality good, but you are making high payment. Now, so there is some fraud going on. Forensic accountant was asked to carry out detailed investigation. Forensic accountant completed his investigation and now preparing his report. What are the broad areas of information that needs to be incorporated in the report? See, in the report of forensic, you will generally incorporate what is the nature of this engagement, scope of this engagement, what were the objectives you will include, and what were your findings as a part of this forensic accounting, who were involved in the fraud, how this fraud is being committed, right? And what are the suggestions that you wanted to give to overcome this fraud. All these things you can include in the report of forensic accounting. Next, Skinglow Limited, an e-commerce company. See, this is basically a direct question where principle number 9 gets applicable to this. This is easy, you can go through this. Next, question number 20. Comment with reference to provisions of Chartered Accountants Act 1949 and schedules thereto. Okay, let's see. C.S. Ahil is a statutory auditor of Greenway Limited, a listed company falling under the top 1000 companies as per the market capitalization on stock exchange. Companies required to submit BRSR reporting as per the SEBI regulations. Greenway Limited approached C.S. Ahil, who is also auditor, to prepare BRSR study report and assist in drafting disclosures. Additionally, company requested C.S. Ahil to also provide assurance. See, the statutory auditor of the company can provide assurance on BRSR reporting of the company, but statutory auditor, he should not he should not draft the BRSR reporting. He can just give guidance to the management. So here in this situation, CS Ahil is not correct in drafting a BRSR report, because he is a statutory auditor of the company and he is also giving assurance on the BRSR reporting. Right. Next, Mrs. R and Co, firm of chartered accountants, received 2 lakh rupees as advance against professional services from charitable institution. Okay, you have received 2 lakh as advance. Okay. Additionally, institution entrusted 10 lakh to firm for specific purpose of investment. So institution has given 2 lakh as advance fee and 10 lakh for purpose of certain investment in designated securities. The auditors deposited it in their savings bank account and no investment was made in the next 3 months. So the amount that you get from the client for a specific purpose needs to be kept in a separate bank account. If you use it for your own purpose, you will be held to be guilty of professional misconduct as per second schedule part 1 clause 10. Right here, second schedule part 1 clause 10 gets applicable. So this is the complete discussion with respect to RTP of September 2025 with respect to CA final audit. So that's it for now. We'll meet in the next class. Until then, take care. Bye bye. See you.